A few weeks ago, I posted a video in which I highlighted various items in Pokemon that you probably never got since they're so unnecessarily far out of the way, and many of them can be obtained with a much easier method anyways. And not only did you guys seem to enjoy it, but unsurprisingly, there are more of those occurrences throughout the mainline games. So I'm back with a part 2. Now I will say, some of these items may be a bit more uncommon compared to something like a simple freshwater that I included in the first video, but I think they can still easily be passed up. Anyways, make sure to hit that sub button as it really does help out the channel, and without further ado, let's cover some more items that you may have never received in Pokemon. We begin round 2 in the Alola region with Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. Now I'll go ahead and point out, these games feature a plethora of side quests that can simply be missed, but also result in getting items. However, if I were to go through every single one, this video would probably be 2 hours long, so I won't make mention of them, but hey, maybe I'll make a video specifically covering them one day. Anyways, after starting a new adventure and putting on your hat and bag, if you sleep in your bedroom again, a neat cutscene will take place in which Meowth hands you an awakening. The same can be done much later in the game in Hapu's home, but this first one is especially easy to miss since you get access to the Pokemon Center in the Howley outskirts very early on, so there's not much of a reason to continue sleeping at your house. Speaking of, by talking to your mom after the catching tutorial, she'll have the chance to give you a Pokeball, Great Ball, or Heal Ball. If you want to get your hands on more types of Pokeballs, then in the Game Freak office in Hiya City, you can talk to an employee who will reward you with a full set of Apricorn Pokeballs, such as the Lure and Heavy Balls, once you show him a Pokemon from the Gen 2 games on the Virtual Console. Now I'm sure a good amount of people had Gold and Silver on their 3DS Virtual Console, but just the fact that a whole nother game is needed made these items worthy of being in this video. Something else that's worthy is TM56 Fling, which can only be obtained by speaking to the lady on Machamp in the Howley Cemetery at night after receiving the ride pager. Honestly, there's no real reason to venture back here later in the game, minus during Mina's trial, but even then it's just Fling. Who's really worried about missing out on it? Moving away from Alola, guess where we're going? The Gen 2 games! Yeah, if you saw the first video, you would know that Johto plays home to a lot of these types of items, and that trend will continue today. Pokemon Gold and Silver feature a bunch of niche items that can only be found by going through the hassle of trading mons over from the Generation 1 titles. For instance, the Brick Piece, Bright Powder, Metal Powder, and Polkadot Bow can be taken off of a traded Machop, Legendary, Ditto, and Jigglypuff respectively from Pokemon Red and Blue. As for Yellow, you can send over the starter Pikachu, a Kadabra, and Abra for the Light Ball, Twisted Spoon, and TM09 Psych Up respectively. Furthermore, certain Pokemon from the Kanto games will be holding a Silver or Gold Leaf upon arriving in Gold and Silver. If you're curious, Tentacruel, Rapidash, Magneton, Kingler, Electrode, Weezing, and Seeking will have the Silver Leaf, while Raichu, Parasect, Venomoth, Golduck, Primeape, Slowbro, Dugong, Muk, Hypno, Marowak, Rhydon, and Seadra will be holding the Gold Leaf. Even more obscure than that, if you trade a Pokemon that was victorious in Round 1 in Pokemon Stadium, it will be holding the normal box, which contains a silver trophy to put in your bedroom, while Amon that won Round 2 in Pokemon Stadium will have the Gorgeous box attached to it, which holds a gold trophy. While we're on the topic of the OG Pokemon games, Red and Blue house a couple items that you literally couldn't have gotten thanks to them either being out of the boundaries on the map or located on a map that was never used. Shout out to Sid for making me aware of these in the comment section of the last video, and side note, I'm not too surprised by this because these games were put together by some popsicle sticks and a half-empty tube of Elmer's glue. Anyways, according to the cutting room floor, there's a hidden max elixir on an unused map for Lance's room, and a nugget sitting outside the perimeter of the Safari Zone. The funny thing is, your item finder will recognize it, but even if you try to walk through walls to get it, the game just crashes upon doing so. Going along with those two items, there's a hidden coin tile towards the top middle of the game corner that is supposed to give you 40 coins, but due to a mistake in the coding, only yields 20. I mean, we're just getting scammed at this point, man. Hopping over to Hoenn, I briefly mentioned the scientist on Route 116 who will offer a repeat ball to you in the last video, but there's two other similar NPCs in the game as well. A collector in Dewford Hall will award you TM36 Sludge Bomb only after you've obtained 5 of the 8 badges. And while that is a pretty solid move, meaning I guarantee some people went out of their way to get it, the mental herb can easily be skipped. This is because it's only handed to you by the lady outside the Pretty Petal Flower Shop after you have the Dynamo badge. so unless you knew to speak with her on your way back to Petalburg later in the game, you probably never bothered to grab this item. Keeping things in Gen 3, in order to get TM42 Facade in Fire Red and Leaf Green, you gotta leave a lemonade by this dude's Onyx Memorial. Once again, it's not like Facade is a worthless move to pick up, but since it's far out on 5 Island and you gotta have a lemonade on deck, I'd bet some people glanced over it. Back in the Ultra games, there's a few strange methods to getting 2 specific berries. First, on floor 3 of the Tidesong Hotel, you can witness a cutscene with a Blossom that involves you being forced out of the room. However, you'll magically have an Oranberry in the end. Weirder than that though, you can talk to the old man in the berry fields and tell him you want to become a berry master. In return, he'll present you with a citrus berry, only if you have a Persum berry. Sure, he does tell you to get a Persum berry, but the berry piles are mostly random, so it could be hard to find. As for Coney Coney City, the girl standing at Lighthouse Point will donate a dire hit if your team includes an Alolan Dugtrio. It doesn't end there though, as if you return a day later with your player's hair color being honey blonde, then she'll give you a soft sand as well. I mean, seriously, we're giving out items based on the hair color of your character now? What are we doing? Visiting Johto once again, I wanted to touch on the Everstone given to you by Professor Elm upon showing him the Togepi from the egg. Look, I feel like many of us, including myself, just deposit the egg in the PC as soon as we get it back in Violet City most of the time, unless you're gonna use Togepi on your team. Therefore, I'd like to think a decent number of people have never gotten the Everstone, especially because it's a nearly pointless item, at least in my eyes. North of Elm's lab lies Blackthorn City, home to a tricky trade. You see, in Gold and Silver, a lady will offer up her Rhydon holding a Bitterberry in exchange for a female Dragonair. The only way to get one though is to surf or fish around in the Dragon's Den for Dratini, whose male to female ratio is 50-50. You could wait until the post-game to get the Super Rod, but either way, the process of getting a female Dragonair is a long one, meaning I bet a lot of people have never owned this specific Bitterberry. Oh, and by the way, the traded mon is a Dodrio holding a Smoke Ball in Pokemon Crystal. Our only Unova entry in this video comes in Pokemon Black and White. A man in the house north of the Pokemon Center in Opelucid City will give the player the Cell Battery if they have a Pokemon from the opposite version knowing the move Charge. What makes this worse is that the Cell Battery is rarely effective as it boosts the holder's attack only when it's hit by an electric type move. I guess you could say it's not a very electrifying item. Haha, see what I did there? Boo! Yo, I gotta stop this. Nonetheless, this makes me wonder who would want to go through the trading process just for an underwhelming item. Skipping over to the Gen 3 remakes, by visiting the receptionist at the Weather Institute 3 subsequent days, she'll give you the Smooth, Heat, and Damp Rock. Similar to many of these items, there's just nothing in the game that really suggests you to grab them. Trekking back to the Gen 7 games, a couple cryptic items can be found in the Haina Desert. Upon becoming the champion, you can come back here and speak with a man who will give you either a Sunstone for showing him a Solrock in Sun or Ultra Sun, or a Moonstone for showing him a Lunatone in Moon or Ultra Moon. Furthermore, if you locate the Parched Hiker and give him a Freshwater, you can find him again in his motel room on Route 13, and he'll repay you with 10 Freshwaters. Not far from there sits the Melee Library, where if your party features an Alolan Persian, Samson Oak will offer you a Love Ball. Alright, why not let us take a final trip back to Generation 2. I talked about trainers like Youngster Joey in the last video, who you can rematch multiple times for something like a protein, but I forgot to mention Picnicker Erin on Route 46. If you defeat her in a second rematch, you'll be rewarded a calcium. As for the post-game, a guy in Vermilion City will pass over an HP up, or PP Max in the remakes, once you've managed to get all 16 badges. Again though, who knows to backtrack to this exact spot after beating Blue? Where else would we round out this video other than in Ultra Sun and Moon for one last time? On Route 15, the fisherman with the Starmie will supply a Comet Shard only if shown a Pokemon knowing the move Tickle. And last but not least, credit to Indulgent for letting me know about this one in the first video, but in the Royal Avenue you can drop a protein in the fountain. A man will proceed to pop out and ask if it belongs to you. As long as you're honest, he'll give back the protein along with an iron. However, if you say no, then he just gives the protein back, meaning you'll never be able to get that iron. And you know what? That's a solid life lesson about honesty. But with that, there's another list of unnecessarily difficult items that you probably missed in the mainline Pokemon games. I yet again had a ton of fun putting this one together, especially since it's cool to learn things that I didn't know about within even the oldest titles. As always, be sure to let me know if I still left some things out, and if you want to support the channel further, consider becoming a member. You get access to cool perks like videos early and receiving a shout out on the outro screen. For now though, have a great rest of your day, and until next time, deuces.